Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually really excited. I am going to be recreating my wedding makeup. And while I do that, I'm also going to have a little story time about my wedding up in the Muskokas and kind of the whole wedding week that we spent up there with our wedding party. It gets a little weird. Crazy. Best week of my life. Call it what you want to call it. So if you want to hang out for that, then stick around. If you're into this kind of stuff, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. So I will tell you everything that I'm using, but I'm not going to tell you how I'm applying it, just because I'm going to try to keep with the storytelling for the most part. I'm using my YSL eye primer. Alright, so first and foremost, what I've learned is that pretty much no matter what, there's going to be something that goes wrong with your wedding that's completely out of your control. Whether it be that it rains, or maybe your uncle's ex-wife gets drunk and pukes all over the bathroom. Maybe the late night buffet winds up serving rancid chips to your guests. Or maybe there is literal raccoon shit where your bridal party is hanging out between the ceremony and reception. I promise you that any and all of those are very real possibilities. I'm gonna put on my face primer now so I don't forget. So it's the Smashbox primer stick. Okay, our wedding planner. Truly, where do I begin with her? I have to start by saying I only hired a wedding planner because we were getting married in the Muskokas, and I figured it would be easier for someone who lives up there to check out different vendors, etc., rather than me driving 2.5 hours to do so. That was incorrect, apparently. Secondly, she was my second choice for a wedding planner. The one that I actually really wanted was unavailable, so I went with my backup. Okay, for the eye base, I'm using my Naked Basics palette. So the fact that my thumbnail probably says $18,000 over budget is not clickbait, unfortunately. The wedding planner came back to me with a budget saying, I know you wanted to spend this much, but this is how much I've planned your wedding for. And it was $18,000 over what I had told her our max budget was. $18,000 over budget. Needless to say, I told her she was a Looney Tunes. Oh, now we're diving into the Naked 3 palette. So at that point, I then had to go through the budget and change things to cut down on the costs. So essentially, I had to go through and do it all myself. And I was able to cut down $10,000 off of what she had come up with. To give you an idea of how outrageous her pricing and budget planning was, she booked, or asked to book, herself and her assistant a room at a hotel in the area that cost $300 per night, and she needed it for 2 nights. The groomsmen, the night before the wedding, were staying at a motel in the area for $150 per night. If I'm not even allowing my future husband to spend $300 a night on a hotel room, why on earth would I let my planner do that? So I told her that she could feel free to book that hotel, but $150 per night is what I was allotting for her accommodations. I'm not even actually sure what she wound up doing, but that's what I paid her. Maybe she just drove home because she didn't want to stay in a cheaper hotel, I'm not sure. So I'm skipping through a lot of what she did to drive me right on up the wall. But one of the major things happened after the wedding. I was on my honeymoon and I get an email from her saying that a crate of plates from the wedding were broken the day after the wedding. I'm talking an entire crate, not like 1 or 2 plates were broken by guests that knocked them off the table accidentally. An entire crate of plates. Okay, so they were either broken by the caterers or they were broken by her staff that were hired to clean up. She emails me and says, it's an unfortunate situation, but somebody has to pay for it. And so I'm having the rental company send you an invoice for the crate of broken plates. At this point, I just wanted to be done with her. I did not want her in my life anymore. By the end of planning this wedding, I cringed every single time I saw an email come in from her. Oh, the other thing to note is that the majority of her planning, like her entire vision board for my wedding, was pretty much entirely stuff off of my Pinterest board for my wedding, which she had full access to. I shared the board only with her. So when she came back with the plans, of course I loved them because they were pictures and plans that I had already chosen. So for the most part, I paid her thousands of dollars to look through my preferences and show me what I've already kind of chosen. But hey, I am the sucker that fell for it. Okay, I am using my NYX gel liner, and I did do a bit of a wing. Don't even know who I was back then. A whopping 2 years ago. I'm gonna quickly do my eyeliner off camera because I can't talk while I do this. Okay, I have to do some under eye concealer. I'm using the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye Concealer. Waterproof. I'm mixing light and medium. I wanted to mention too, a lot of these products are products I would use on actual brides, as if I wasn't a real bride, on other brides. So long story short about this wedding planner is that she put such a bad taste in my mouth, I wound up telling people that if they can plan their weddings without a wedding planner, they should 100% do it and save themselves the cost. But now that I've cooled down, I realize that that's not fair at all, and there are, hopefully, some wedding planners out there that are 100% worth the investment. They're good at their jobs, and they won't leave you to essentially plan at least half of your own wedding on top of paying them thousands of dollars. Unfortunately for me, that was not the case with the planner that I hired. What was supposed to make things less stressful, I thought, wound up causing me the absolute most stress when it came to planning that wedding. Okay, I'm jumping into foundation now, and I'm using the Face Atelier Ultra Foundation. I know that I mixed shades 2 and 3, probably mostly 2 at that point. Alright, we'll try it. Okay, so on to the actual wedding. It was the best day of my life. Having my son was pretty great too. Maybe they're tied. So we got married at the Key to Bala, which is a bar up in Bala, Ontario. My grandparents actually got engaged there 60-some years earlier, and I go up to the Bala area pretty much every year to stay at a cottage with my family. So kicking off the interesting events of that day, my limo driver, which was hired by my wedding planner, was about 105 years old. He was late picking us up. I believe he got lost trying to find the cottage that we were staying at. But when he did get there, he was unable to reverse out of our driveway. It took us probably 10 minutes before my cousin, who was a bridesmaid, eventually had to get out of the limo and direct him onto the road. So anyways, I was late getting to my wedding. My husband was crapping his pants as it is because he was standing in front of a bunch of people waiting for me to show up. And everybody thought that I was waiting because it was raining. Which was not the case. I was not leaving my guests sitting out in the rain so that I wouldn't get wet. If you were a guest at my wedding and you thought that, now you know why I was actually late. The ceremony and the officiant were absolutely amazing. My husband is obsessed with trains, and a train even went by right in the middle of the ceremony. For most people that might have been a negative, but for us that was a sign from somewhere that we must be doing the right thing. The officiant was technically a reverend, but she kept it completely non-religious, which was perfect for my husband and I. And then the reception was the absolute best time of my life. But one surprise for even my husband and I, and this is one of the only areas that the wedding planner pulled through on, is that our DJ surprised us and was actually a singer as well. So at one point someone tapped me on the shoulder and said that my DJ was singing, and I guess I didn't really understand because I just nodded like, yeah, he's great. And then they were like, no, look. And I looked over and he was in the middle of the dance floor, surrounded by people, and he was singing into a microphone while everyone's dancing, and it sounded like an actual recording. And our biggest thing is that we wanted everybody to party and have fun. So he just fit with that perfectly. But yeah, the one, I guess, kind of negative about our reception was that the late night buffet was serving nachos, poutine, I think pizza. And I had multiple people come up to me and tell me that the chips for the nachos were essentially rancid. They tasted like butt. Curling lashes as per usual. And obviously waterproof mascara. Waterproof everything for a rainy wedding day. Okay, for my brows, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Medium Brown Brow Powder Duo, and I'm just using the darker shade. So on to the last and probably my most favorite part was the week that we spent up in Muskoka with our wedding party. We rented basically a mansion on the lake. It was massive and beautiful. I think you could sleep like 20 people, had like 75 bathrooms. And one of the living rooms had multiple couches, an air hockey table, pool table, hula hoops. Maybe you wouldn't think a bunch of people in their late 20s would have fun with hula hoops, but you'd be wrong. The one night we wound up partying and my husband disappeared, and we realized later, because he didn't point it out, that he left just to create a little handmade sign that said "The Club," and he stuck it to the door because we were blasting music and the majority of us were just hammered, playing cards. My husband kept beating everybody at air hockey, so I had to go kick his ass to remind him that he married a boss. But yeah, all sorts of fun things happened at this cottage. We kept having raccoons come right up to the door. This is not the bronzer that I used, but I don't really remember what I used that day, so I'm going to use the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. The cottage also came with a canoe. However, my husband had never really been on a canoe by himself, so he decided one day after probably 10 too many beers that it would be a good idea to go out in the canoe by himself. He got into the canoe and he made it like 8 feet from the shore before tipping it, so it's got to be some kind of record somewhere. Oh, and before there's any assumptions made, the cost of this cottage was in addition to the budget that I gave to the wedding planner. One of the other best parts is that somebody brought a funnel. I don't know if they made it themselves, but it had a really long hose on it. So we had people standing up on the second story deck, pouring beer into the funnel, to help the people on the lower level wet their whistle a little bit. Oh shit. The Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush in Diffused Heat is what I used for my blush. Alright, I gotta wrap it up. So Hourglass Ambient Lighting and Luminous Light was the first highlighter. And then, as always, the Dior Skin Nude Air highlighter on top. And finally, the lips. Now, the thing with the lips is that I don't remember exactly what product I used. I think it was a YSL. I know it was on the pink side, but I can't be 100% sure what I used, and I don't want it to look too pink if I use the wrong one. So I'm going to use my newfound favorites, Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, because I like them, and because I don't remember what I used for the actual wedding day. The setting powder, I used Hourglass Veil Setting Powder. And this is the biggest one. It's my secret weapon, the benNye setting spray. It's waterproofing, and honest to God, this is probably a big reason why my makeup didn't just run off my face with all of the moisture that we dealt with. Okay guys, that's it. The finished look. So if there's one thing you can take away from this, is that if somebody had told me all of these weird things would have gone wrong on my wedding day and I would still have the best time of my life, I would have told them to give me my money back because there was not a chance in hell that I would enjoy myself. But I would have been absolutely wrong because at the end of the day it really was an amazing, fun party. And that's exactly what we wanted it to be. Honestly, I could have done without the rain. Yeah, so I hope you had fun hearing about our wedding in the Muskokas. I hope you found it interesting, or at the very least, I hope it helped you kill some time if that's what you were trying to do, and I hope to see you back at some point. Bye!